Have you ever stopped to wonder what truly happens when you completely disappear from someone's life? Not just a brief pause, but a total withdrawal. No texts, no calls, no contact at all. How do you think they'd feel? In a world where so many people take others for granted, stepping back like this can leave a much bigger impact than you might imagine. Now let's flip the perspective for a moment. When you disappear, it's not just about removing your presence. You're forcing them to face an uncomfortable truth. They've grown too comfortable treating you as an option instead of a priority. This message is for you, for anyone who's ever felt undervalued, mistreated, or overlooked in a relationship or situation. Today, we're diving into something powerful, the real emotions people experience when you vanish from their lives. There are 9 intense stages they go through, and by the end of this, you'll realize that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away and never look back. If you've ever felt like you were just an option, take a moment and declare it in the comments. I'm no longer an option. After today, you'll not only see your worth, you'll understand how to make others see it too. Stay with us until the end, because there's a special bonus waiting for you. The 10th stage, the one you absolutely don't want to miss. If you're ready to change how others see you forever, then let's dive into this together. Your transformation starts now. 1. The pain of rejection. It all begins here. They never expected you to truly disappear. In their mind, you were the constant, the one who cared, who planned, who put in all the effort. You were their rock, the safety net they thought would always be there whenever they needed support. But when you're suddenly gone, it hits them like a lightning bolt, completely unexpected and deeply unsettling. Remember the old saying, you don't know the value of something until it's gone? That's exactly what happens when you step out of their life. It's not just your physical absence. They lose everything you brought into their world: comfort, validation, and the steady reassurance that someone had their back. And when all of that vanishes, it leaves behind a hollow void they never thought they'd have to face. They feel rejected. But this isn't some surface-level, fleeting rejection. It's deeply personal. For the first time, they realize they've lost control over you, and that stings in ways they can't ignore. Let's be honest, people often take for granted the ones who are always there. When they think you'll always show up, they stop appreciating your value. You become less of a priority and more of a backup plan, a convenient option. And then, you're gone. That safety net they so carelessly relied on. It's pulled out from under them, leaving them in an emotional freefall. They're panicked, spiraling with questions like, why did I let this happen? How did I lose control? The pain of rejection cuts even deeper. If you had given them everything, your heart, your energy, your time, while they gave you so little in return. Here's the cruel irony. They might have believed they were doing you a favor by keeping you around, but in truth, you were the one holding everything together. They gave you scraps, while you were the glue keeping the relationship intact. How does this pain truly impact them? If you want them to feel the full weight of rejection, leave without warning. Don't explain, don't plead, and don't issue ultimatums. Just quietly step away. The suddenness of your absence will leave them reeling, mentally unprepared and utterly shaken. It forces them to confront their behavior in a way they never expected. It sends a powerful, unspoken message: I'm done being disrespected. And here's the key: don't look back. When you walk away, they'll feel a kind of rejection they never thought possible. The person they assumed they could rely on, the one they believed they could always control, is now gone. And that forces them to face the harsh truth of their actions. Trust me, that pain, it lingers for a long, long time. 2. The void of missing you. This is where things start to get really interesting. After the initial sting of rejection wears off, they begin to feel something unexpected, a profound, unsettling void. It's not just the absence of your presence, it's the emptiness of a life without the energy and meaning you brought to it. At first, they might lie to themselves. "It's fine, I'll just move on," they tell themselves with false confidence. But as the days go by, that void starts to creep in. It's not a passing feeling, it's a quiet, persistent emptiness that lingers, catching them off guard. They go about their daily routines, working, hanging out with friends, diving into hobbies. But something feels off. A nagging, almost imperceptible ache follows them everywhere, whispering what they refuse to admit. You brought light into their life. You brought warmth, emotional stability, and a sense of belonging that nothing else can replace. Without you, everything feels dull, flat, and colorless. Here's the thing. When someone takes you for granted, they assume you're replaceable. They think the relationship was interchangeable, that they could find someone else to fill your space. But reality hits differently. No one else brings the unique energy, love, and understanding you did. They might try to distract themselves, throwing their time into work, chasing new relationships, or seeking comfort in hobbies, but none of it feels the same. That void stays. Every time they try to fill it, the emptiness grows louder. Why? Because you added something special to their life, something they didn't even fully recognize while you were there. And now, with you gone, they feel the weight of your absence with every passing day. Ironically, the things they barely noticed before are now the things they miss the most. The way you really listened to them, the sound of your laughter, the comfort of knowing someone cared, even in the smallest moments. Those seemingly simple interactions now haunt them as they realize they'll never get them back. How do you make this void truly impactful? Make your absence absolute. Disappear completely. Block them on social media, delete their number, and make it impossible for them to contact you. Let them sit with the reality that you've moved on, that they no longer have access to you. Every time they try to reach out and are met with silence, the void inside them deepens. Each failed attempt to reconnect becomes a reminder that you're truly gone. And as they sit with that emptiness, they'll begin to understand just how much you meant to them. People rarely value what they have until it's gone. Let them fully feel the weight of your absence, the conversations, the warmth, the stability you brought. It's irreplaceable, and now they know it. The more they sit with that void, the more they'll realize your worth. And that lesson, it will stay with them forever. 3. Overwhelming curiosity. At this stage, the void you've left behind becomes unbearable for them. Now curiosity creeps in and takes hold, transforming into an all-consuming obsession. Their thoughts are flooded with questions. Where are they? What are they doing? Who are they with? These questions haunt them, growing louder with every passing day, especially since they have no way to find the answers. Suddenly, you're a mystery, a riddle they can't solve, and nothing frustrates people more than the unknown. In today's hyper-connected world of social media, this frustration becomes even more intense. They'll obsessively check every platform, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, desperately searching for even the smallest glimpse of you. But here's the kicker. You give them nothing. No posts, no stories, no updates. Just complete, deafening silence. Why does this drive them crazy? Because humans hate uncertainty. When you vanish, their mind scrambles to fill in the blanks. They start spinning endless scenarios in their head. Have they moved on? Are they happier without me? Is there someone else? These thoughts don't just confuse them. They force them to confront their own insecurities in a way they can't escape. The ambiguity eats away at them, and their desperation for answers grows. They can't stop thinking about you. They're consumed by the realization that they've lost all control, something they never thought possible. And that loss of control, it only deepens their obsession, the inevitable obsession. Here's where things get even more interesting. In their search for answers, they might start reaching out to mutual friends, trying to piece together the puzzle of your life. But there's a catch. Their pride often prevents them from openly admitting how much they care. The person who once acted like they didn't need you is now going to great lengths just to find out what you're up to. It's a tragic paradox. They're desperate to know more, but they don't want anyone to see how much you're on their mind. Curiosity is a powerful emotion. When someone craves answers but can't find them, their mind fills the gaps with assumptions. And here's the kicker: those assumptions are rarely comforting. They'll picture you thriving without them, being happier, more fulfilled, and possibly in love with someone else. These thoughts don't just frustrate them, they torment them. Day by day, their imagination works against them, feeding their obsession with the idea of you living your best life while they're stuck in the void you left behind. The best part? The less they know, the more they want to know. You become the one thing they can't stop thinking about. Their curiosity spirals out of control, and suddenly you're the center of their mental universe. How to maintain their curiosity? To keep this curiosity alive, maintain your silence. Disappear completely from their radar. No social media updates, no breadcrumbs, no hints. Let them wonder. Let them imagine. Force them to try and piece together a puzzle with no pieces. Every time they pick up their phone, scroll through their feeds, or check their messages and find nothing, it will push them closer to the edge. That emptiness, it becomes unbearable. Your silence sends a louder message than any words ever could. Don't give them answers. Don't offer even the faintest clue. Let your silence become the loudest statement of all. Allow them to drown in their own thoughts, consumed by the mystery of your life. The more they wonder, the more they'll realize they've lost something they can't replace, and that realization will haunt them. 4. Deep self-reflection. This is the hardest stage for them, the point where they're forced to confront themselves. After days or even weeks of obsessing over you, where you are, what you're doing, who you're with, their focus starts to turn inward, and when it does, it brings with it a flood of uncomfortable, unavoidable questions. Was I too cold and distant? Did I make them feel unappreciated? Did I push them away without even realizing it? Did I ruin everything? Regret begins to creep into their mind like an unwelcome guest, settling in a way they can't ignore. It's a heavy, suffocating feeling. Why? Because no one likes admitting they were wrong, but you disappearing has forced them to do exactly that. Without you there to explain, smooth things over, or soften the impact, they're left alone, facing nothing but their own thoughts. And those thoughts are far from pleasant. They start replaying every moment in their mind, examining every word, every action, and every missed opportunity. All the times they ignored your messages, dismissed your feelings, or treated you like an option instead of a priority, they all come rushing back like a tidal wave of realization. And it hits hard. They know they had something special. They know they treated it carelessly, and now they have to live with the fact that they lost it. The brutality of self-reflection. This stage is brutal because they can no longer shift the blame onto you. You're not there to defend yourself, to argue, or to provide explanations. They're left with one harsh reality. The only person left to blame is themselves. And that's a bitter pill to swallow. The more they reflect, the more they see the cracks in their own behavior. They begin to realize exactly where they went wrong, and guilt starts to take over. It's an unshakable feeling, an ache they can't escape. They'll wish, desperately, that they could turn back time and fix what they broke. But by now, it's too late. your role in their reflection. The key here is for you to stay out of it. Don't step in to explain why you left. Don't offer them closure or try to make them see the error of their ways. Let them figure it out on their own. The most profound self-reflection happens when it comes from within, not from external pressure. The longer they sit with their guilt, the clearer the truth becomes. They were the reason things fell apart. Let them wrestle with that realization. Don't rush to comfort them or ease their pain. This is their lesson to learn, and it's a powerful one. The impact of this lesson. This stage will forever change how they perceive your worth. Every moment they spend reflecting on their actions deepens their understanding of what they lost and what they could have done differently. And that realization, it will stay with them for a long time, shaping how they view relationships moving forward. So let them sit with it. Let them reflect, regret, and realize the depth of what they had with you. This stage, though painful for them, is where the true change begins. 5. The urge to chase you. After weeks of regret and self-reflection, a dramatic shift takes place. They're no longer consumed by guilt alone. Instead, an overwhelming urge takes hold. They want you back. The tables have completely turned. You were once the one who cared, who reached out, who put in the effort to make things work. But now, they can't stop thinking about you, and the desire to reconnect with you becomes their top priority. This longing grows so strong they begin to wonder, is it too late to fix this? Signs they're chasing you. They might start sending messages like, I've been thinking about you, or how have you been? They'll revisit your social media, liking old posts, watching your stories, or even leaving comments to get your attention. You might receive late-night texts, possibly fueled by liquid courage, as they try to reignite the connection they once dismissed. What's driving this? They've realized what they've lost. The person they once took for granted is now the person they can't stop longing for. Their indifference has been replaced by an almost desperate desire to have you back. You're no longer just there. You've become their what-if, their biggest regret, and their greatest longing. But here's the twist. You now hold all the power. How to stay in control. Their urge to chase you might be intense, but this is not the time to respond. Don't let them regain control so easily. Let them sit with the frustration of sending messages and receiving nothing in return. Every ignored text, every unanswered call will only deepen their realization of how much they've lost. If you respond too quickly, the dynamic flips back in their favor. They'll feel like they've regained control, and the power you've worked so hard to reclaim will be gone. But by maintaining your silence, you reinforce the fact that you're not someone they can easily win back. Let them chase without reward. Silence remains your most powerful weapon. It keeps you in control and forces them to fully confront the reality of their situation. They no longer have easy access to you. Why this matters? The more they chase, the more they'll understand just how much they've lost. Your absence stops being an inconvenience and becomes a constant reminder of their mistakes. Every unanswered message, every ignored call is like a mirror reflecting their own failures back at them. And here's the ultimate lesson. They can chase you all they want, but the person they lost, the one they didn't appreciate when they had you, is no longer within their reach. By maintaining your boundaries and staying silent, you ensure that they feel the full weight of their actions. This isn't about revenge. It's about teaching them the value of what they lost, and that realization, it's something they'll carry with them for a long, long time. 6. The battle between relief and regret. When you first disappeared, they might have felt a fleeting sense of relief. For a brief moment, they convinced themselves they'd gained the freedom they thought they wanted. Finally, I don't have to deal with them anymore, they might have told themselves. That initial feeling of lightness even gave them a false sense of happiness. But here's the truth, that freedom is an illusion. It's shallow, fragile, and temporary. They'll try to bask in this so-called liberation, going out with friends, swiping on dating apps, filling their days with distractions they think will make them feel better. For a while it might work, but distractions only last so long. When the noise fades, when they're left alone in a quiet room, staring at their phone or lying awake at night, regret starts to creep in. They begin to realize that freedom without you isn't liberating. It's empty. The people they meet in this newfound freedom bring nothing but surface-level connections. They might flirt, go on dates, or have fun nights out. But those moments are hollow. It's like trying to quench their thirst with salt water, briefly satisfying but leaving them even more parched and desperate afterward. The harsh reality of replacement. In today's dating culture, it's easy to believe that moving on is as simple as finding someone new. Endless apps, endless options. It all gives the illusion that replacement is just a swipe away. But it's not. They quickly discover that you, the person who provided emotional stability, depth, and a genuine connection, cannot be replaced by fleeting flings or shallow distractions. Those new connections, they lack the warmth, understanding, and meaning that you brought into their life. As this realization sets in, it's painful. The short-lived relief they once felt was nothing more than a mirage, and now it's gone, replaced by a growing sense of regret. The harsh truth is unavoidable. They had something precious, and they let it slip away. Let them feel it fully. This is the moment where patience becomes your greatest strength. Don't rush back into their life. Don't step in to check on them or ease their discomfort. Let them fully experience the freedom they thought they wanted. They need to sit with the emptiness they mistook for liberation. As regret begins to seep into every quiet moment, they'll start to reflect on how fleeting that initial sense of relief was. It wasn't real. It was just a trick their mind played to mask the pain of losing you. Your absence will begin to haunt them in ways they never expected, and they'll start to grasp a truth they never saw before. What they thought was freedom was, in fact, their greatest loss. Why this matters? By allowing them to endure the full emotional spectrum, from fleeting relief to profound regret, you ensure that the lesson sticks. They'll come to see that what they had with you wasn't just another relationship or connection. It was rare, it was meaningful, and it was irreplaceable. This process forces them to face the truth. Freedom without you isn't worth anything at all. Let them carry that realization and let it reshape how they see not only you, but themselves. It's a lesson they'll never forget. 7. The desire to play games. As regret and panic take hold, they desperately try to regain control. Instead of confronting their feelings directly, they resort to a familiar and immature tactic: playing games. These manipulative behaviors are carefully crafted to provoke your curiosity, jealousy, or frustration, all in an effort to pull you back in. What will they do? They might act distant or indifferent, pretending they don't care. They'll post photos with others or share cryptic attention-grabbing messages to suggest life is amazing without you. They'll share vague updates about personal growth or post selfies designed to scream, "Look how happy I am." Their goal? To make you wonder, are they really moving on without me? Or to provoke a reaction that gives them even the smallest sense of control. Rising above their childish games. Here's the truth: these tactics only work if you let them. Their games are transparent and immature, and you're no longer part of their manipulative cycle. If you engage by liking a post, commenting, or even sending a text, you're giving them exactly what they want: attention. But the moment you refuse to engage, you reclaim all the power. How they might escalate. When their initial attempts fail, they often double down with more dramatic or aggressive moves. Subtle, passive-aggressive comments disguised as jokes. Critical or antagonistic remarks on social media aimed at provoking you. Over-the-top posts showing off a fabricated, perfect life, designed to make you take notice. Their frustration grows with every ignored post, every unanswered message, and that's exactly where your power lies. How to stay in control. Don't take the bait. Ignore their cryptic posts, attention-seeking selfies, and hollow attempts to appear unbothered. Don't comment, don't like, and don't respond. Your silence is the ultimate power move. It not only ends their manipulative game, but forces them to confront the truth. Their tricks no longer work, and you've truly moved on. The final realization. When you don't react, it drives them crazy. They start to understand they've lost the ability to influence or control your emotions. The games, the manipulation, the attention-seeking, they're all meaningless without your participation. The moment you stop responding is the moment the game ends. That's when they're forced to face the undeniable truth. You're gone for good. Your silence delivers the loudest message of all, one they'll carry with them long after the game is over. 8. The crushing weight of silence. Silence is one of the most powerful tools you possess when you choose to disappear. It requires no words, no explanations, yet it speaks louder than anything you could ever say. By staying silent, you leave them alone with nothing but their thoughts. And that's when the weight of your absence becomes unbearable. Your silence forces them to confront their actions and decisions over and over again. They replay every moment they ignored your messages, dismissed your feelings, or claimed they were too busy to care. Now they'd give anything just to hear a single word from you. Silence as a form of mental torture. For someone accustomed to control or receiving your attention, silence feels like pure torture. They expect you to reach out, to ask what went wrong, to plead for an explanation. But when you don't, when there's not a single signal from you, they're left in a spiral of confusion and helplessness. Every moment without a word feels like an eternity. In a world where we're so used to instant communication, texts, calls, notifications, your silence shatters their expectations. They aren't just missing your words, they're grappling with the deafening void you've left behind. And here's the irony. They don't just miss the happy conversations or your kindness. They even miss the arguments, because even conflict feels better than the absolute stillness of being shut out. Your silence strips away their illusions of control and forces them to face an uncomfortable truth. They never thought they could lose you like this. How to use silence as your power. Let your silence be your unshakable strength. Don't break it. Don't explain. Don't rush in to ease their discomfort. Silence is what forces them to carry the full weight of their actions. Every day they don't hear from you, they realize more and more just how much they've lost. They come to understand that losing access to you is far more painful than any misunderstanding or disagreement you might have had. Your presence, your love, your words, what they once took for granted, are now glaringly irreplaceable. Let them feel the weight. This is not the time to offer them relief. Don't respond, don't explain, and don't ease the burden of their regret. Let them feel the crushing weight of silence. Let them sit with the full enormity of what it means to lose you, not just your voice, but you. Over time, the realization will hit them like a tidal wave. This silence isn't just about the absence of sound. It's the absence of you. And that truth, that they've lost someone who mattered so deeply, will speak louder than anything you could ever say. Your silence becomes the ultimate message, one they will never forget. 9. The fear that brings them crawling back. This is the moment where everything collapses for them. Fear, the one emotion they never thought they'd feel, takes over their mind completely, leaving them vulnerable, panicked, and desperate. They used to feel comfortable, convinced that you would always be there no matter what. They assumed your loyalty was a constant, that your love was unshakable, and that you'd never truly leave. But now you're gone, and their greatest fear begins to materialize. What if I've lost them forever? The obsession with losing you. The thought of you being with someone else consumes them, becoming a relentless obsession. They picture you smiling, laughing, and building a life with someone new, someone who sees your worth and treats you the way they should have. These mental images don't just unsettle them, they make them feel physically sick. Their pride, ego, and sense of control, the things they once clung to, crumble in the face of this fear. Suddenly, nothing else matters but getting you back. This fear drives them to do things they swore they'd never do. Sending long emotional messages, apologizing for how they treated you, admitting that you meant far more to them than they ever acknowledged. In some cases, even showing up at your door, swallowing their pride and begging for another chance. Fear is not love. Here's the hard truth. These actions aren't necessarily fueled by love. They're driven by fear. What terrifies them isn't losing you specifically, but losing the comfort and control they felt when they had you. They're panicked, not because they've truly changed, but because they can't handle the thought of not having access to you anymore. Fear isn't the foundation for love. It's a reaction to losing control. By the time they reach this breaking point, you've likely already moved on. You've reclaimed your independence, rediscovered your self-worth, and built a stronger version of yourself, one that doesn't rely on their validation. Why you shouldn't let them back in. Yes, their fear is real. Yes, their desperation is genuine. But neither of those things is a good enough reason to let them back into your life. Remember, this is the same person who once treated you as an option, who believed you would always be there no matter how little effort they put in. Letting them back in because they're scared of losing you only reinforces their past behavior. It sends the message that they can disregard you, take you for granted, and still have access to you when it suits them. You deserve better. You deserve someone who recognizes your value from the beginning, not someone who only realizes it when faced with the fear of losing you. Hold your ground. Their desperation speaks volumes about the impact of your absence, but it's not your job to ease their fears. You've already moved forward, and they need to learn to accept that. Let them face the consequences of their actions. By staying strong and refusing to go back, you affirm your worth and remind yourself that you are not someone who can be overlooked or undervalued. They must learn to live with the reality of losing you, and you must protect the peace and strength you've worked so hard to build. This is the lesson they need to learn, and the closure you deserve. 10. Emotional independence, your ultimate victory. This is the moment of true transformation, the moment you fully reclaim your life. By choosing to disappear, you didn't just walk away from a person or a relationship. You walked into a new space of freedom, where clarity, self-worth, and inner peace become your guiding forces. In so many relationships, we get caught up in endless cycles of trying to please others, prove our worth, or meet their needs while neglecting our own. But the truth is, you've always had a choice. And when you made the choice to leave, when you carved out space for yourself, you opened the door to something far more powerful, emotional independence. No longer seeking their validation. You realize now that you don't need their approval or validation to feel valuable. You've stopped worrying about what they think, how they feel, or what they want from you. Their opinions, once a source of influence, are no longer relevant. Your happiness is no longer tied to them, and that realization is the most liberating gift you've ever given yourself. They notice the change in you. Here's what's fascinating. They notice the shift. They can see that you're not the same person who waited endlessly for their attention, who allowed their emotions to dictate your own. Now you're stronger, more confident and wiser. This change isn't subtle, it's undeniable. While they remain stuck in the same patterns, you've evolved in ways they can't ignore, and that realization terrifies them. They see that you've moved beyond them, that you've grown into someone who no longer needs them to feel whole. Embrace your independence. Own this newfound independence completely. Don't slip back into old habits. Don't let their regret or attempts to reconnect tempt you into returning to the past. They need to understand that they no longer hold any power over your happiness, and you've risen far beyond their reach. This is your greatest victory. You've shown that you're capable of finding fulfillment, strength, and peace entirely on your own. The ultimate lesson. Never again allow anyone to treat you as if you're optional. Stop being the person who's always there, no matter how poorly you're treated. The moment you walked away, the moment you disappeared, you reclaimed your power. And that single choice changed everything. Now they feel it. They regret it deeply. They've come to understand a truth they never fully grasped before. You're not someone who can be replaced. You're unique. You're valuable. You're extraordinary. And losing you, that's a loss they'll carry with them forever. I believe that when you're not appreciated, silence and letting go are not just acts of reclaiming your independence. They're also opportunities to teach others the profound lesson of loss. True happiness doesn't come from someone else's validation. It grows from within, rooted in the deep understanding of your own worth, the ability to cherish what you bring to the table, and the unwavering refusal to let anyone else define who you are or how much love you deserve. Sometimes disappearing is the most powerful way to assert your self-worth. When you quietly walk away from someone's life, you don't just leave behind an empty space, you leave behind a mirror. They're forced to confront themselves, to face the pain of rejection, the deep void within, and the unanswered questions that haunt their thoughts. They begin to wonder, how did it come to this? Every mistake they made, every time they ignored you, every opportunity they missed, these memories become a weight they can't escape. And then, their greatest fear creeps in. What if I've lost them forever? Your silence isn't just an absence. It's a deafening echo that forces them to reckon with the consequences of their actions. It becomes a reminder of your strength, independence, and the undeniable truth that you no longer need them to validate your worth. The balance shifts entirely. The person who once held control now finds themselves longing for your presence, yearning for what they took for granted. They come to realize that you've broken free. You've stepped out of the cycle of being undervalued, and in doing so, you've declared, "I deserve more." But here's the truth. This isn't about revenge. It's about the profound lesson they need to learn. Because sometimes it's only in losing something that people finally understand what can never be replaced. As for you, you don't look back. You move forward, stronger, more confident, and more whole than ever before. Remember this: letting go isn't a failure. It's an act of strength. You don't need anyone's permission to feel complete, fulfilled, and free. If you're ready to reclaim your power and refuse to be treated as an option, comment below with, "I am no longer an option." You're on a journey to becoming the strongest version of yourself, a place where you take charge of your emotions, your worth, and your happiness. If this video resonated with you and helped shift your mindset, consider becoming a channel member to support our mission of creating quality content and empowering even more people. If membership isn't for you, hitting the subscribe button is an amazing way to show your support. It truly means the world to us. And remember, from this moment on, you are in control of your life, your choices, and your future. See you in the next video.